We must tell you, the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. 3, 2, 1. Now live from the Devil Radio Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Thank God it is Friday, man. This week's been kicking my ass. But it's Friday. We made it, folks. We made it. And we're on the air. Last show of the week. Going to have some good times. Going to air the grievances right here. And if you're new to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show and relatively new listeners, we welcome you on 820 AM WCPT in Chicago. We welcome our friends in Minneapolis, AM 950 KTNF. We welcome our friends in Eureka, California, listening on KGOE 1480 in one of our favorite FM frequencies, 92.7, super cool. And of course, Devil Radio here in Madison, 92.7, as mentioned. We share a frequency. And our newest affiliate, WAUK 540 AM and 101 FM, The Shaw. So anyways, we're busy. We've got lots going on, and this has been a big week for this little team. And we've got a few out sick. So Evan back on the board today. Appreciate you filling in all week for big fancy Brian. And today is a glorious day for Joe Biden. I mean, yesterday, Joe Biden won over my heart. Now, Joe Biden had won my vote prior. Was I going to vote for the other guy? But as I'd mentioned many times, I voted for the socialists. I supported Bernie. I was one of those guys. And Joe Biden, I accepted him as the nominee because Bernie accepted him. Elizabeth Warren did. All the rest did, get in line. Blue no matter who. But yesterday, Joe Biden moved me. Joe Biden did the right thing. Ass kicking. Joe Biden came out and he laid some lumber on Donald Trump. Trump still moaning, whining, licking his wounds. And I think there will be some worse wounds if Merrick Garland ever gets around to making it Merrick Garland Day and indicting anyone in the Trump family. Anyone in the Trump family, I'll declare it Merrick Garland Day. But today, Joe Biden's going to lead the show again. After that barn burner of a speech yesterday, how could I not lead with our president, Joe Biden, today? My heart is full with new adoration for Joe. I hope he's ass kicking sort of today like he was yesterday. I don't know if this will be toned exactly the same, but the right will play the jobs report today as bad news. Oh, this is bad news. Missed this month's expectations. And I say, so what? This is a great jobs report. I'll tell you all about it in just a bit. But Joe Biden should be out there bragging about the jobs report, should be bragging about the unemployment rate. You know how many jobs we've created under Joe Biden's presidency? 11 months. You know how many? 6 million jobs. Know the last time we did that in the history of measuring jobs? Never done it before. No president has created jobs like Joe Biden's economy has created jobs. And you know what? Something of a bipartisan accomplishment. But of course, Republicans, they want no part of this economy, because it's also Joe Biden's inflation. But we'll get to that in a bit. Let's hear the president. The unemployment rate. I mean, it's way down. We're under 4. This is what they call full employment. There are millions of jobs to be had. And it is finally a workers' economy. Here's President Joe Biden crowing a little, as he should. Cut number 10. Please play it for the people, Evan.
The sharpest one-year drop in unemployment in United States history. The first time the unemployment rate has been under 4% in the first year of a presidential term in 50 years.
And the only time, I wasn't sure if Joe had more, the only time in history, 6 million jobs created in 11 months. That is a truly big number, historically big number. Hell, today is a historic day, according to President Joe Biden, cut 11.
I think it's a historic day for our economic recovery.
You know, here's the problem with Joe. He's back to Joe, folksy Joe. I like ass kicking Joe better. The American Rescue Plan, that played a big part. Let's hear it from the president, Joe Biden, cut 12.
The American Rescue Plan got the economy off its back and moving again.
One more from Biden, cut 13, please.
I would argue the Biden economic plan is working and it's getting America back to work, back on its feet.
Yes, it is. Lots of Americans back to work. I want to jump into a Paul Waldman story over at the Washington Post. Technically, an opinion piece. But here's what Waldman writes. When it comes to job creation, the U.S. economy at the moment is a marvel, perhaps unparalleled in the entire world. And at a moment when the parties are so bitterly divided, we should celebrate it as a bipartisan achievement. That sounds like a crazy thing to say, but hear me out. Waldman out. I'm just speaking his words. On Friday, the Bureau of Labor Statistics announced that 199,000 new jobs were created in December. It also revised the previous 2 months' numbers up by 141,000 for a total addition of 340,000 jobs. And I wouldn't be at all, now I editorialize, I wouldn't be shocked at all if these numbers are revised upward again, because that's been the trajectory all year. They haven't revised them down each and every month. They have continued to revise the BLS numbers upward by hundreds of thousands of additional jobs created. So don't let right-wing talk radio or Fox News tell you this is a bad jobs report, because it's anything but. And they, the Republicans, the right, they should be claiming some of the credit. Here is a little bit more. Paul Waldman. You know how many times the U.S. economy created 6 million jobs in a calendar year going back to the 1930s, which is as far as the BLS data goes back? In Waldman's words, never. The only year for which more than 4 million jobs were created under another Democrat, Jimmy Carter, 1978. Don't think about the roaring jobs economy of Jimmy Carter much, do you? When Biden took office, the unemployment rate was 6.4%. Now it's 3.9%, a triumph. And as Waldman writes, I can already hear Republicans sputtering that Biden had nothing to do with all the good things that happened to the economy, but he's completely responsible for everything bad, including higher gas prices, the shortage of computer chips, and the fact that you can no longer fit into the jeans you bought 10 years ago. If you're fat, it's Joe Biden's fault, right, Republicans? If you ask them to be specific about which Biden policy supposedly produced this inflation, the only thing they'll be able to come up with is spending, right? That's the answer. Spending, tax and spend. You Democrats, that's all you do is spend. A little bit farther down in the Waldman piece. So we poured huge amounts of money into the economy to forestall disaster, pandemic, giving relief to individual families, to business, and to state and local governments. To repeat, this was a bipartisan effort. There seems to be a misconception that Biden was the one who spent all the money, but that's just false. So here are a few bullet points. In March of 2020, that was the beginning of the pandemic, folks, Congress passed the Coronavirus Preparedness and Response Supplemental Appropriations Act. Now, that was $8.3 billion, and President Trump signed that bill into law. 2 weeks later, they passed the Families First Coronavirus Response Act at the cost of $192 billion. We're up to a cool $200 billion so far. Trump signed that as well. So those are two Trump laws. At the end of March 2020, Congress passed the CARES Act. Trump signed that one as well. It spent more than $2 trillion, though the final cost after loans were repaid was estimated at like $1.7 trillion. What a deal. We're up to 1.9 trillion under Trump so far, folks. The next month, Congress passed the Paycheck Protection Program and the Healthcare Enhancement Act at the cost of $483 billion. Let's call that $500 million more. Trump signed that as well. We're up to $2.4 billion, folks. In December of 2020, Congress passed the Consolidated Appropriations Act, which added another $900 billion in pandemic relief spending. Oh yeah, Trump signed that one as well. So we're up to $3.3 trillion in bipartisan efforts while Trump was still the president. Because Republicans were still supportive of, trying to, save the electoral process for their incumbent president. They only signed off because, of course, they didn't want Trump to lose. Well, he did lose. And then that last one, of course, they didn't want to lose the special elections in Georgia. Kelly Loeffler, what was that other guy? David Perdue. Well, they did lose. Both of them, right? Despite the Republican efforts. So when Joe Biden gets blamed for the spending, they're talking about one bill. In March of 2021, Congress passed the American Rescue Plan with an estimated cost of $1.8 trillion. This time, not a single Republican voted for it. Biden signed it. That's the only one Biden signed so far, folks. The rest of those bills, all the way back to the CARES Act, that passed 96-0 in the Senate. Republicans can't claim that that's Joe Biden spending. 419-6 in the House. So these were bipartisan efforts. And Republicans, they want to blame Joe Biden for all the bad. But how about claiming a little bipartisan success, this jobs economy under Joe Biden that started with lots of bipartisan pandemic rescue plans last year, Paycheck Protection Plan. We dipped into that well, kind of like Robin Voss right here in the great state of Wisconsin. Only I'm not the assembly speaker. It is a success story. More Devil's Advocates. Come back. It's almost the weekend. Your phone calls could be next. Air the grievances here at 844-967-2789. We're doing a great job, Joe Biden.
Many jobs for many people.
Stories come to life at your local parks and forests. They're places of wonder, and they're closer than you think. Make the forest part of your story today at a local park near you, or find one at discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
600,000 Wisconsin families are receiving checks to help take care of their kids thanks to the expanded child tax credit passed by Joe Biden and congressional Democrats. Ron Johnson voted against these checks for Wisconsin families, despite voting for a 2017 tax break that put more money into the pockets of millionaires like himself. It's time to vote Ron Johnson out of office. MoveOn.org political action, paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertisement. Poll.moveon.org, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
President Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidates, and he would have won.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
Being a father is an honor, a challenge, a duty, a celebration, and a testimony. I want to be legendary for you because I found everything to live for.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Hi, Don from Wisco Home Goods here. Jeremy and I handcraft our 100% non-toxic candles from locally sourced materials in our Madison, Wisconsin facility. Wisco Home Goods candles come in a variety of unique blends and scents that you're sure to love. Add a little warmth to your home as the days get colder with one of our Midnight Cypress or Up North candles. Order at wiscohomegoods.com. Natural, healthy, nourishing candles and more at wiscohomegoods.com.
The Devil's Advocates, the fix for political junkies everywhere.
to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Friday edition, the most eagerly anticipated of the week. So looking forward to a weekend. Hope you are as well. I got a few show notes coming up for next week, though. Apparently, U.S. Senator Ron Johnson from the great state of Wisconsin, as I have been telling you over and over and over again, because that's what I do, as predicted, as prognosticated by yours truly, Ron will announce he's running for re-election, probably on Monday of next week, could be later in the week. But I suspect he'll try to capture the news cycle on Monday. So that's a shocker to absolutely no one, at least no one that pays attention to politics. The only reason to doubt that Ron Johnson was running for re-election is because Ron Johnson made a pledge not to run for re-election. But have you ever noted any, well, I'm not even going to say just Republican politician. They lie about lots of stuff, but all politicians lie about whether or not they intend to term limit themselves at some point in the foreseeable but distant future. So I don't hold that part of the equation so much against Ron. You know, all politicians that don't hold to their word, you know, they're all lacking in credibility. But God, Ron tops hypocrisy each and every day of his life. So we'll talk more in the 4:00 hour. We'll get your impressions of the big quote unquote breaking news. The fact that he's anticipated to make an announcement is all over the news right now in the great state of Wisconsin. So had to throw that out for your consideration. And a great jobs report, whether or not you realize that the Omicron variant has slowed down the hiring process. Certainly the fact that we had, what they call that, Christmas in there, that usually slows things down a bit. But I suspect the hiring process steeply increased again at the beginning of the year. No, lots of people hiring for the first quarter. And some were successful at actually hiring people, putting, right job with the right candidate. So I perceive this to be a victory for the United States. And Republicans could claim some credit for that victory, but they'd rather blame Joe Biden for anything that goes wrong. So I don't think you'll hear anyone claiming credit. Maybe Trump. But Joe Biden, my guy, loving Joe more and more all the time. Joe took a little credit today. Remember when the last guy was in the coup leader guy, the insurrection guy, that guy?
The defeated guy, yes.
Yeah, the guy that lost. That guy used to crow about the stock market every time it was up. Well, Joe Biden, how's the stock market doing these days? Evan, play it for the people. President Biden, cut 30, please.
The stock market, the last guy's measure of everything, is about 20% higher than it was when my predecessor was there. It has hit record after record after record on my watch.
Yeah, almost to the point where I'm getting a little concerned. We've got an inflated asset class. We could be, due for a correction. But the entire growth, the recent growth, the last 11 months of growth, the 20% growth, that happened on Joe Biden's watch. He gets to claim credit for that, right, conservatives? Let's keep going. More President Biden. People are quitting jobs because they're confident about the economy. Cut 31. You got that for me? Cut 31.
There's been a lot of press coverage about people quitting their jobs. Well, today's report tells you why. Americans are moving up to better jobs with better pay, with better benefits. That's why they're quitting their jobs.
More from President Joe Biden. Evan, play cut 32. People are also showing confidence in the Fed.
I'm confident the Federal Reserve,
at least Joe is,
will act to achieve their dual goals of full employment at stable prices and make sure the price increases do not become entrenched over a long term.
Now, when the unemployment rate is below 4 on the national level, aren't we already at what economists would perceive to be full employment? Now, I know Sean Handy will find something in the other metrics, the labor participation rates, and certainly more people have left the workforce. But some people don't feel safe working in a pandemic. And if you can pull off early retirement, more power to you. more from the president. This success, this job success, the 6 million jobs that never happened before, conservatives, not under any president's watch. The 6 million jobs, well, that comes despite Republican obstructionism, cut 33.
I refuse to let them stand in the way of this recovery. And now my focus is on keeping this recovery strong and durable, notwithstanding Republican obstructionism.
Mandelbaum. For you Seinfeld fans, we are doing Friday grievances, 844-967-2789. We'll get there in just a moment. One more from President Joe Biden. The economy. It's the economy.
Now I hear Republicans say today that my talking about this strong record shows that I don't understand. I don't understand. A lot of people are still suffering, they say. Well, they are. Or that I'm not focused on inflation. Malarkey. They want to talk down the recovery because they voted against the legislation that made it happen.
At least the recent legislation. Let's go to the phones. First caller of the day, Mark from Sussex. Welcome, Mark. Hey, Mark. Mark sleeping on the queue, man. When it's your time, when the bell rings, Mark, you got to be ready. Got to get these new affiliate listeners prepared for the fast-moving Devil's Advocates radio show. WAUK 540 AM. You can hear it across the Milwaukee Metro. But when you call in at 844-967-2789, and it's your turn, you better be ready, man. Life moves pretty fast. You got to keep up. Come back with us. Devil's Advocates radio show. We're also going to talk about arguments before the Supreme Court. The topic, coronavirus vaccine mandates. And let's just say the conservatives seem skeptical in their arguments. We'll tell you what that could mean for you, for big business, for the Biden administration's efforts to end the pandemic. So join us, 844-96-PARTY. It is a political party every day up here on the Devil's Advocates, especially when you join us and are ready when it's your turn in the queue.
Make sure you listen to Devil Radio 92.7. If you do, you go to heaven.
Hi, this is Brad from Zero Res. If you need someone to help with your carpet cleaning, business or residence, please give us a call. We have the best system available and an amazing team of friendly technicians. Call us at 848-9000 or schedule online at zeroresmadison.com.
At Knuckleheads, our knowledgeable staff knows the ins and outs of CBD. Whether you're a veteran of cannabis like the Devil Radio team or a first-time customer, the Knuckleheads team has the information to answer all your CBD questions. Never heard of a tincture? We got you covered. Looking for something to address those achy joints? We got just the thing. Stop into our new location at 520 State Street and mention Devil Radio to our knowledgeable staff to get 15% off your order today. Knuckleheads, your one-stop shop for CBD in Madison.
5 your local single-source IT solutions provider, specializing in cloud technology, consulting, servers, networks, and hosting. We manage your IT so you can focus on running your business. Enjoy technology. Enjoy 5.
Coronavirus update. I'm Ed Donahue with an AP News Minute. Stocks finished lower. The Dow down 4 points. CDC Director Dr. Rochelle Walensky says there's a new virus trend.
Sadly, we are seeing the rates of hospitalizations increasing for children 0 to 4. Children who are not yet currently eligible for COVID-19 vaccination.
President Biden was asked about the recent spike in coronavirus cases.
COVID, as we're dealing with it now, is not here to stay. The new normal doesn't have to be. We have so many more tools we're developing and continuing to develop that can contain COVID and other strains of COVID.
The Supreme Court's conservative majority appears skeptical of the Biden administration's authority to impose a vaccine or testing requirement on large employers. The Labor Department says 199,000 jobs were added last month, lower than expected. The unemployment rate dropped. I'm Ed Donahue.
Susan, it's so great to finally be able to get together again.
Oh, it sure is. And I really appreciate you picking up the bill.
I'm happy to. I've got the extra cash. Since we've all been driving so much more again, I've been using Get Upside, the free gas app that pays you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get paid cash when you buy gas with the Get Upside app?
Yes, up to 25 cents a gallon. Cash back every time I buy gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
Some months I make $200 to $300.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the free Get Upside app now.
Download the free Get Upside app now in the App Store or Google Play to save up to 25 cents a gallon when you buy gas. Use promo code FREE for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's up to 50 cents a gallon on your next fill up. You can cash out anytime to PayPal or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Get Upside app and use promo code FREE for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code FREE.
For Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines. This morning, interim UW System President Tommy Thompson announced that he will be resigning from the temporary position on March 18th. Later today, the UW Board of Regents Committee responsible for selecting Thompson's replacement will meet to select finalists for the position. This week, the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources stressed the importance of think smart before you start. The department's campaign for safely driving snowmobiles throughout the winter season. Between January and March of 2020, the state recorded 19 fatalities due to snowmobile accidents. According to a Politico article, the city of Milwaukee has made the shortlist to host the 2024 Republican National Convention. The other three cities in consideration are reportedly Nashville, Salt Lake City, and Pittsburgh. The Republican National Committee has not made an official announcement in regards to the shortlist. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
%60 of the time, they're right every time. The Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Friday, almost the weekend edition. And we air the grievances. Yours could be next. Just dial us up. We take all comers. 844-967-2789. Mark, you get your last and final chance. Mark from Sussex. Welcome to the show, sir. What do you got for us?
I appreciate you taking my call. But $199,000 jobs created. What was the prediction? It's half of what was predicted. They said it was going to be at least 400,000.
Well, it's 341,000 total jobs if you include upward revisements.
Okay, well, did you guys ever revise it when Trump was?
Sure. The BLS revises their numbers each month, sir. And typically.
Okay, you did it. But typically, yep, they do go up and you know what? And they went up 100,000 when Trump was president too. So you can't look at it that way.
Job growth was anemic under Trump. And of course, we had a crashing economy. And I'm not saying that's entirely Trump's fault. We had an international pandemic. Trump did not cause the pandemic, Mark.
I love the way you spin this because you got to spin it because of all the other.
Trump did cause the pandemic, Mark. I'm not sure what you're arguing now, sir.
Well, again, but Biden was running on that.
Okay, Mark, let's set aside the December jobs report and look at the cumulative job creation under President Joe Biden. 6 million jobs. No one's ever done that before, period, sir.
I'll give you credit for that.
Okay.
But that was going to be 5 or 6 million, regardless of who's president, because we're just coming out of COVID-19.
Really? Because all the Republicans resisted further spending, sir. I'm sorry.
How many people were unemployed?
Well, a lot of the economy was unemployed for some portion of time. So, yeah, I would agree with you, Mark. It's a little bit of a misnomer. If everyone gets fired and everyone gets hired back, that kind of messes with the job numbers. I'll readily agree with you, Mark, but you can't have it both ways. You can't say the job numbers suck. Oh, but the cumulative job numbers, everyone expected great job growth. Well, you can't have it both ways, Mark. Either the job numbers have validity and credibility and we care about them, or we don't. But when they're good, admit they're good. And when they're bad and 199 is below estimates, I'll admit that's bad. But I think you do have to look at the revised number because cumulatively today, the BLS announced 341,000 new jobs.
We did agree that 6 million was a great year. Okay, I'm not disagreeing. But again, I want to go back to some of the other things that you guys spin, okay? And some of the stuff that Biden is not taking responsibility for. Number one, he said that he was going to have COVID under control. He ran on that.
Mark,
and it's
is it his fault if a certain portion of the population refuses to get vaccinated, despite the fact that Biden would like to institute COVID vaccination mandates? Now, you can blame him. You can say, I don't like a mandate, but that was Biden's best efforts. That's what Biden wants to do.
But again,
it's not the Democrats. It's not me that's resistant to getting vaccinated. And you know what? I know lots of people that have mild cases of Omicron, but lots of the people that get sick and fill up the hospital beds, like the record number we currently have under Joe Biden, they're the unvaccinated, sir. Can you blame Joe Biden if you won't get vaccinated?
No, but here's the thing. If Trump would have won the presidency in 2020, okay. And all of the Democrats, including president, the vice president.
So, Mark, can we
Schumer,
agree that Joe Biden did win the presidency in 2020?
Wait. They came out and said that they would not be taking the vaccine because it was under Trump. And now they're doing a 180-degree spin because now it's under Biden's watch.
So you're implying that politicians were acting political and speaking in hyperbole during the campaign cycle, and now you're trying to hold them to the literalness of the statements. And yeah, I thought it was asinine. I don't think they should have come out and said, I'm not going to get vaccinated. I'd be hesitant to get vaccinated because a warp speed vaccine. But of course, it's not, although I know that Donald Trump wanted to claim credit because somebody in the family's a scientist and he's really smart, I don't think he was in the back brewing up the Pfizer. I have given Trump credit for.
He handled it very well either.
But I've given Trump credit.
Well either.
But Mark, if you've listened long enough, and perhaps you're new to our affiliate in Milwaukee, but if you've listened long enough, you would know that I would readily give Trump credit for the warp speed, just like President Biden did last week. Remember, Trump was all warmed in his cockles because Biden gave him a little bit of credit for the warp speed. But Trump, until very, very recently, when he said he got boosted and he got booed by his own followers. You recall that, Mark? That's the reality of like a week ago, dude. So it wasn't Biden that politicized this. It was Donald Trump, dude. He's the guy that wouldn't wear the mask. He's the guy that walked out of Walter Reed, dying of COVID. I mean, they said he was in precarious circumstance and he took his mask off and exposed his Secret Service agents. That is quite different than the behavior of Joe Biden, who will wear a mask on the beach, which is kind of ridiculous to the other degree.
Well, again, I'm not all 100% in with Donald Trump and how he handled it either. So, but again, that's just one of the things. Now we look at Afghanistan, then we look at the border, then we look at, everything around him just seems to be tumbling.
But only as it's being perceived through the prism of Fox News. The economy is doing well. The Omicron variant is certainly infecting people, but the number of people dying that are vaccinated are extremely low. So this vaccination has been widely spread. The president is mailing each and every American a rapid test next week. The president is trying to do his best efforts to put his arm around an international pandemic. An unpredictable outcome, no doubt. And it wasn't predictable for the last guy either. I don't blame Trump for the pandemic. Mark, I blame Trump for failing to lead on the pandemic. And if we can agree that he did lose the last election, it's because he failed to lead on the issue of the pandemic.
And I'll agree with you on that too. But that's not addressing all of the other faults that he's done. Again,
buddy, I didn't like how, okay, then you've conceded most of my points. I'll concede a couple of yours. I don't like how Joe Biden handled Afghanistan. I think the prior administration set him up for failure by making a deal with the Taliban. People seemingly forget that. I haven't seen any reports of Americans dead on the ground since the base was blown up by the terrorist that happened before the final withdrawal date. And any date in history that we picked to say we're pulling our troops, we're pulling our personnel, would have inspired someone to come and strap dynamite on and try to kill people. So I didn't like how Biden handled it. As a former soldier, I didn't think it was the best thing he could have done. I think he should have pulled the civilians out more quickly. I think to think that the Taliban was somehow going to slow move its way across Afghanistan was bad policy. So I'll agree with you. But guess what, man? When's the last time an American died in Afghanistan?
Well, when he pulled them out.
Okay, but we're out. After 20 years, we ended the war. We're done with American casualties. And you may not like how he did it, and I don't like how he did it, but at the end of the day, that takes courage. That is leadership. Sometimes you make unpopular decisions, but so far, as near as I can tell, Mark, other than Sean Hannity's daily counting down the days, no one's died since Joe Biden withdrew the troops from Afghanistan. So where is the tragedy there, Mark? It's not an ongoing problem. He finally solved the problem. Mark, you know what, man? I like arguing. I like having these conversations. And I look forward to having another one with you at some day in the future. But we got lots of callers, and I don't want to be impolite to other fine listeners who want their crack at me. So, Mark, give us a call again in the future, 844-967-2789. But anytime, man, bring it. Ross from Middleton, you are next. Ross, what do you got for us?
Hey, Crudy. Happy Friday.
Thanks, man.
Well stated. Talking with Mark there, I know that they're always throwing something in. It's like they've got that box mentality. It's kind of like they're good for about one or two sentences, and once you reply to it, bam! It's like they got to throw something else at you. But anyway, so I wanted to compliment you from a few days ago. I didn't get a chance to call in when you sort of told your story about your son, his application to college, and the success he's had. I wanted to say that, boy, I heard that, I felt it, and
Ross, I'm losing you, man, but I appreciate the kind words about my son, Caden. Yeah, we're very, very proud. You're back, Ross. I thank you for acknowledging my son's hard work. And any political thoughts, sir? Oh, no, Ross. Bad phone, man. I'm sorry, dude. Try us back. I'll give you one more crack. 844-967-2789. Another pal, Jeannie from Eau Claire. Jeannie, how you been, sister? Happy New Year.
Well, Happy New Year to you, too. Hey, I got to tell you, yesterday was a great day.
It was. I really enjoyed it, although it is, I'm a political junkie, so I like important days in history, and I feel like yesterday was the anniversary of a tragic but very important day in history. But Jeannie, as a political junkie, I loved yesterday. As a citizen who believes in democracy, I'm still very fearful for our country.
Oh, yeah. But you know what I did today? I watched all the speeches live on the floor. Of course, there was one Republican with her father, and otherwise there were no Republicans that took part. And they,
Jeannie, let's acknowledge that for a second. I got to say that made me feel very weird on the inside, because I feel, just a little adoration for Dick Cheney.
Mm-hmm.
That's a weird feeling when Dick Cheney and I can find common ground against a common enemy, in this case, Republicans that would try to end democracy as we know it. But Jeannie, you go.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you, I was taking notes like nobody's business, because I watch everything live. I don't just get my news from somebody else. So I was watching all of the speeches, and they said, oh, this is just political. H-E-double-L, it was not. It was what they experienced during that time, during that moment, where they were, their feelings on it, what happened since, and the memories of it happening to the Republicans as well as the Democrats. And they're working together to keep those people out of the building. And they were all in fear. And they were all mad at Trump. And then, and then it showed, sometimes it would, some places you'd see where the Republicans were upset with Trump, what he did, and they blamed him for it. And then all of a sudden now they don't want any part of it. And the sad thing to me is that was huge emotional trauma for all of the people that were working there. But something got inspired in all of them, that they realized that they have to fight to protect our right to vote, fight against gerrymandering, and fight to keep our country a democracy. And you could see it in every one of those speakers. After what they went through, they know that we have to fight hard, and I guess we all have to take part in it. It was really interesting, and it was interesting with Kane, who fights for voting rights, who saw his votes in his state were being objected to, and there was no evidence of foul play, and the vote was true. And I thought to myself, that's why I'm so darn mad in the state of Wisconsin with Voss throwing money away, trying to take away my vote. I thought, wow, because he always fights for rights. And he said in there, they were going to try and take my vote away. So in the state of Wisconsin, we should be darn mad about Voss. And so we have
Jeannie, let me point out, I certainly have plenty of animus for Robin Voss and the way he governs, but specifically, it wasn't Robin Voss that was trying to take away the certification of Wisconsin's vote. That was Tom Tiffany, and that was Scott Fitzgerald. And I believe you're in the third CD in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, which currently Ron Kind, your congressman. Well, the guy that's running against Ron Kind, or ran against, and Ron's obviously retiring, Brad Pfaff, a Democratic senator running for that position. But Van Orden, the guy, Derek Van Orden, the guy was literally an insurrectionist at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. And the two other Congress people from that part of the state of Wisconsin, Fitzgerald and Tom Tiffany, they wanted to vote against the certification of the same Wisconsin ballot they got elected on, GD. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates. Sorry to cut you short, sister.
I will fight you. That's no lie.
My Shiro always goes the extra mile, stretches every dollar, puts others first. But now it's your time, Mom. Get free tips to help boost your retirement savings now at aceyourretirement.org.
Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council. 600,000 Wisconsin families are receiving checks to help take care of their kids thanks to the expanded child tax credit passed by Joe Biden and congressional Democrats. Ron Johnson voted against these checks for Wisconsin families, despite voting for a 2017 tax break that put more money into the pockets of millionaires like himself. It's time to vote Ron Johnson out of office. MoveOn.org political action, paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertisement. Poll.moveon.org, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Spruce up your home with non-toxic vegan candles from Wisco Home Goods. I'm Don, one of the owners of this family-owned Midwestern business in Madison, Wisconsin. Our candles are 100% sustainable and come in a variety of unique blends and scents that make a perfect holiday gift. Plus, at Wisco Home Goods, we believe in giving back. With our Do Good, Smell Good campaign, a portion of the proceeds go to local charities. So support a Midwestern company that supports our local communities. Order now at wiscohomegoods.com.
Here's today's STEM tip. Don't throw out that old plastic bottle. Repurpose it by turning it into an awesome terrarium. Just fill it with sand, pebbles, soil, and your favorite plant. It'll grow sealed right in its own ecosystem. Learn more at She Can STEM. A message from the Ad Council.
Hi, folks. This is Kirk Bankstead of the Minocqua Brewing Company, and I'm excited to announce our new beer, AOC IPA. This IPA pays homage to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, a champion of the progressive movement. AOC IPA is now available in stores throughout Wisconsin. Check our website, MinocquaBrewingCompany.com, to see which stores in your area are carrying it.
Warning, listening to the Devil's Advocates may expose you to opposing views.
Chicago. I haven't heard Chicago in some period of time. Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show, the Friday edition. Apparently, it's Evan's choice on the music because I didn't pick Chicago. We'll continue taking your phone calls, but back by popular demand for 2022, first time in the new year. We're going to do nominees, and eventually I'm going to award a D-bag of the day, and I'm going to do so right now. So let's get to it. It is very clear to me the biggest D-bag of the day yesterday Well, it's probably President Trump, but he's off hiding in Mar-a-Lago. I don't have any sound of him. But this week, Ted Cruz from Texas, the guy that flew off during a snowstorm to Cancun while lots of Texans died. And then he flew back right away because, it was just the kids' faults anyways. But this week, Ted Cruz said something to the effect that the people that stormed the Capitol were violent insurrectionists. They were terrorists, something of that sort, use strong language. And he was chastised tremendously by Tucker Carlson, who, of course, is a January 6th minimalist, a whitewasher, a propagator of lies. And here's the saddest part. Ted Cruz finally said just a skosh of truth, and then he had to go and get his ass kicked last night on Tucker Carlson. So, little back and forth between the two. And I mean, literally, by the end of this segment, I thought Mrs. Cruz, Heidi, I thought she probably had Ted's, cojones in a jar somewhere. But let's not forget that Ted Cruz didn't even protect his own wife when she had to be taken physically off the floor of the RNC in 2016 because Donald Trump from the stage basically turned the crowd on her. And there's the whole thing with, your dad probably killed JFK, that little rumor Trump started. But anyways, as much as Ted Cruz has bowed down and kissed Trump's ass, well, last night he went on Tucker Carlson. Let's play it for the people. Evan, drop the Ted Cruz and Tucker.
You never use words carelessly. And yet you called this a terror attack when by no definition was it a terror attack. That's a lie. You told that lie on purpose, and I'm wondering why you did.
What I was referring to are the limited number of people who engaged in violent attacks against police officers. And I think you and I both agree that if you assault a police officer, you should go to jail. I wasn't saying that the thousands of peaceful protesters supporting Donald Trump are somehow terrorists. I wasn't saying the millions of patriots across the country supporting President Trump are terrorists.
What you just said doesn't make sense. So if somebody assaults a cop, he should be charged and go to jail. I couldn't agree more. We have said that for years. But that person's still not a terrorist.
Of course, it would be ridiculous for me to be saying that the people standing up and protesting to follow the law were somehow terrorists. I was talking about people who commit violence against cops. And you and I both agree, if you commit violence against cops, you should go to jail. I have referred to people who violently assault police officers as terrorists. I've done so over and over and over again. If you look at all the assaults we've seen across the country, I've called that terrorism over and over again. That being said, Tucker, I agree with you. It was a mistake to say that yesterday. And the reason is what you just said, which is we've now had a year of Democrats in the media twisting words and trying to say that all of us are terrorists, trying to say you're a terrorist, I'm a terrorist.
Yes, I just don't believe you. And I mean that with respect. You never.
Is that how the host respects you? I don't believe you. You're lying, Ted. He pointed out Ted Cruz, a lawyer by trade. I mean, the guy was the national NCAA debate champ. Does not drop words loosely. But the fact that he had to go on Tucker's show and beg his forgiveness, and it was worse than that. I mean, at one point, Tucker, I believe, called Ted Cruz the character from Game of Thrones, the man that had been castrated, called him by the given name of the character. They called the character the Rake, R-E-K-H. Anyways, because basically he would do anything and bow down before the master. And Ted Cruz was the groveling peasant before Tucker Carlson. This is a U.S. senator, guy that finished second in the presidential nomination campaign to Donald Trump, and he's groveling on Fox News. And his tweet yesterday, I used a dumb choice of words, and unfortunately, a lot of people are misunderstanding what I meant. No, we understand what you meant the first time when you showed just a little courage, and then you took it all back, and you gave the master your cojones, Ted Cruz. And you, sir, you sort of coupled. You and Tucker together. You're both the D-bags of the day, but probably more you.
D-bag of the day.
Okay, it's you, 844-967-2789. Going back to the phones, our fair audience. Tom, it's Friday. Air your grievance.
Well, I certainly would say that Ted Cruz is the D-bag of almost any day. You remember what Al Franken said about him? He said, I probably like Ted Cruz more than any senator in the Senate right now, and I hate Ted Cruz.
Yeah, what Lindsey Graham say something to the effect, you could shoot Ted Cruz on the floor of the Senate and you'd get acquitted.
Yeah,
that's what his own pals think about the man. I know I've told the story, Tom. We met Ted Cruz. I've met him twice. Once, after I tried to ask him a couple of forceful questions, he didn't bow down like he did to Tucker last night, but he literally walked up to my face and stuck his hand out like a stop sign, like, stop asking me questions. The second time we met Ted Cruz, Ishawaka, Indiana, the last day of his viability as a presidential candidate. And I've never seen a greasier, more desperate candidate in my life. He was getting in the personal space of every person in a diner in this little town in Indiana. The day before the primary, and ultimately Dominic was with me, and he was holding a cup of coffee and he had his cell phone, and Ted Cruz walked up and forced Dom to put down his coffee. He's wearing his media credentials. We're there as media. We're not voting for you, Ted Cruz. We're not even from this godforsaken state. And Ted Cruz comes walking up to Dom and sticks out his hand. And Dom looks at both hands, like, I got coffee here, I got a phone here with my, I'm here for video. And Ted Cruz kept his hand stuck out until Dom put his coffee on the ground so he could shake Ted Cruz's hand. One of the highlights of Dom's life, I suspect.
But a good thing happened last night. The Dane County Board failed to pass Resolution 157, which tried to take away the medical board's ability to have a mask mandate. And there were 82 people testifying on Zoom. My sweetheart, who's a nurse, was one of them. And basically, that whole resolution that Jeff Weigart tried to put through crashed and burned last night.
Well, congrats to your girl, Tom, and all the nurses. Come back. Devil's Advocates Hour 2 is next with less Chicago.
If you killed Ted Cruz on the floor of the Senate and the trial was in the Senate, nobody could convict you.
That guy. At Chad's Design Build, our tagline is building a better world, one remodeled home at a time. Simply stated, we want to be a part of the solution to leave the world better than we found it. That's why we've invested in a 20 kilowatt solar array, which provides over 90% of our electrical demand at our shop, office, and design studio. And that's why we invest in local causes which provide opportunities and which confront structural inequality. At Chad's Design Build, we are proud to partner with you, building a better world, one remodeled home at a time.
Wisconsin, you know that Drew Holiday and Brooke Lopez are champions on the court, but did you know they're also champions for our community?
Hey, Wisconsinites, Drew Holiday here.
And Brooke Lopez here.
I love being a champion.
And today I'm asking you to be a champion citizen.
Defend your right to vote and exercise your freedom to vote.
It's more important now than ever because politicians are trying to restrict our freedom to vote.
They're worried about our power, so they want to take it away.
Don't let them do that.
You've got to block that shot.
Paid for by the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign.
You are listening to WTTN 1580 AM Columbus, W224 EG Madison, always streaming on the Devil Radio app.
AP News. I'm Ed Donahue. In Georgia, Greg and Travis McMichael were sentenced to life without parole for the murder of Ahmaud Arbery. A neighbor, William Roddy Bryan, has a chance to earn parole after serving at least 30 years in prison. This is Judge Timothy Walmsley.
I kept coming back to the terror that must have been in the mind of the young man running through Satilla Shores.
Arbery, who was black, was chased by the three white men, and they thought he was a burglar. Arbery's sister, Jasmine, gave a victim impact statement.
Ahmaud had a future that was taken from him in the instance of violence. He was robbed of his life pleasures big and small.
Arbery's family had asked the judge in Georgia to show no lenience. As the Omicron variant surges, it's putting a damper on celebrations as optimism continues that things will get better. Here's the AP's Sagar Magani.
In New Orleans, the race is on toward Mardi Gras. Carnival season started yesterday, but a city used to partying is trying to do it carefully. Chaya Conrad's Bywater Bakery had a piano truck, but canceled its usual block party.
We are definitely not doing the big to-do.
President Biden says the old ways will return, both on Bourbon Street and across the nation.
The new normal is not going to be what it is now. It's going to be better.
Saying there are now enough tools to control COVID, even as his administration faces more questions over messaging, lack of at-home tests, and other measures. Sagar Magani, Washington.
A judge denied a request to lower bail set for two parents who, with their son, are charged in a fatal Michigan school shooting. The judge said James and Jennifer Crumley failed to turn themselves in when charged with involuntary manslaughter. Chicago's mayor again blamed the city's powerful teachers union for a third day of canceled classes in the nation's third largest school district, and she hopes to reach an agreement soon. The Dow finished down 4 points. This is AP News.
Susan, it's so great to finally be able to get together again.
Oh, it sure is. And I really appreciate you picking up the bill.
I'm happy to. I've got the extra cash. Since we've all been driving so much more again, I've been using Get Upside, the free gas app that pays you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get paid cash when you buy gas with the Get Upside app?
Yes, up to 25 cents a gallon. Cash back every time I buy gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
Some months I make $200 to $300.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the free Get Upside app now.
Download the free Get Upside app now in the App Store or Google Play to save up to 25 cents a gallon when you buy gas. Use promo code FREE for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's up to 50 cents a gallon on your next fill up. You can cash out anytime to PayPal or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Get Upside app and use promo code FREE for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code FREE.
Stay informed with Progressive News and Talk on 92.7, Wisconsin's home for Devil Radio.
Hey, I'm here from Knuckleheads. Have you seen our new location yet? Come on down to 520 State Street for all your CBD needs. We have a huge selection of gummies, oils, and a variety of other CBD products. We also have a gigantic walk-in humidor. The knowledgeable staff at Knuckleheads will work with you to find exactly what you need. Mention Devil Radio at checkout to get 15% off your next order. Knuckleheads, now at 520 State Street. We'll see you there.
Taking on Ready Whitey Talk Radio on both sides of the dial from McFarland to Wanakee, Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM. I'm here talking with Todd Osborne from Orion Inspections. Todd, thanks for sticking around. Radon. I've heard a lot about radon, and I know that we Wisconsinites, we're all heading for the basement. It's going to be winter soon, but you could have radon in the basement, and that is a scary prospect. Todd, first and foremost, what is the danger of radon?
So a lot of folks don't even understand really what radon is. They hear about it, as you have, radon gas, radon gas, radon gas. You need to test for it. Why? Well, and here's the thing is that it is a gas with a very short half-life. Once it enters the home, generally from the ground and the soils and rocks that are underneath your house, once it enters the home, it starts to break down and it turns into these little, what they call alpha particles. So now you got this stuff flying around your house and it's attaching to all these dust particles that are in your house, gets in your lungs. It can actually alter your DNA. It is the second leading cause of lung cancer right behind smoking.
That's terrible, man. I hear it can be very dangerous for small children as well, but radon can be mitigated. But first, you got to know if you've got radon. What's the testing process like, Todd?
Well, I have a couple of state-of-the-art pieces of equipment that will set up in the home, in the basement, and run it for a total of 48 hours. It'll take readings every hour. And then you'll get an immediate report once that testing is wrapped up, and it'll give you an idea of what kind of radon levels are in your home and whether or not you need to move forward or look at mitigation.
And you're scheduling radon inspections now, Todd?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Orion Inspections, they will test for radon. You'll find out if you have it And if there's something you should be doing about it, it can be mitigated. But first, you got to know if you have it. Start by going online, orioninspections.com, Orion Inspections, like the constellation.com. Get your radon test today.
Devil Radio programming is produced live in the Solidarity Realty studios. Find them at solidarityrealty.com. Solidarity Realty. There is an alternative.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. 3, 2, 1. Now live from the Devil Radio studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome back. Hour 2 of the Friday edition of the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. And we specialize, at least on Fridays, airing of the grievances. Yours are welcome here. You just got to dial us up at 844-967-2789. I'm going to share a modest grievance I have. I had lots of encouraging words this week. We've got a new affiliate, WAUK 540 AM in Milwaukee, technically in Waukesha, and 101 FM in the Shaw. Technically, that is the Shaw. So anyways, we've got these new radio stations, and we're feeling quite enthused about being able to reach the Milwaukee Metro and parts north thereof, perhaps all the way to the Fox Valley and, to the state border and all that kind of stuff. And then I got this email from Mindy, and Mindy says, if Crudy wants to throw his money away again, he should just go back to Vegas. Thank you, Mindy. She says, yes, I want to join the community and receive emails and updates, until Crudy goes broke again. I guess that's what she's implying. Thank you for the kind words, Mindy? ? So anyways, people encourage me in differing ways. This hour, we're going to talk about a couple of candidates encouraged to run by President Trump, including U.S. Senator Ron Johnson. And I believe it was Donald Trump, probably the first one that put out an email missive through a super PAC that said, run, run, run. And today, Ron did everything just short of making it official in that he hired a campaign manager and he hired a consulting team. And apparently he leaked it out to right-wing talk radio. He's going to run for office again, even though he told us on this fine show like 6 years ago, no, 2's all I get, boys. Promised the wife I'd be done after 2. Well, you lied to her as well, Ron. But Ron's going out next week, apparently, and announcing he's running for re-election. And I don't know if you know, but everybody wants a piece of Ron Johnson. The Republicans think he's their last and only hope. All the Democrats see him as a very vulnerable candidate. And I'm going to share a few of the reasons why. But there's like 11 Democrats in the state of Wisconsin. We had one fine one on yesterday. Sarah Godlewski, she is the current Wisconsin state treasurer. She's running for a U.S. senatorial seat. Her and like 10 other Dems. And they all want a piece of Ron Johnson. They're all running against Ron. They're all fundraising against Ron. And Ron's now kind of made it official. And I did throw out a couple of text messages today. I encouraged Mandela Barnes, the current lieutenant governor of the state of Wisconsin. He claims, at least his campaign is claiming, he's the front runner, doing well in all the polling. Well, here I am, Mandela, 844-967-2789. Don't make me go through all the steps and calling the staff of the staff and then asking them, and then they ask you, and then you tell me whether or not you're coming on the show. So I'm just inviting you directly, sir. 844-967-2789. I also invited the Democratic Party chair of the great state of Wisconsin, Ben Wickler. Ben will be on the show Monday. We think Ron will make it official on Monday, and Ben will join me in the 4 o'clock happier hour to lay some lumber on Ron Johnson. And we'll give you all a chance in this hour. Again, the number here, 844-967-2789. The other candidate that Trump encouraged, well, he apparently is a hard no. Sean, the real world Duffy. You remember that guy? Sean Duffy, congressman from the state of Wisconsin. Now, he resigned from Congress midterm because his wife, who is a Fox News contributor, said that apparently child number 9, I mean, that's a breeding couple, but child number 9 had some special needs. And Duffy resigned to spend more time with the family, and then promptly, 3 weeks, a month later, announced that he was working for CNN. And Trump came out recently and said, run, Sean, run. Kind of rhymes. If your name rhymes, there's a chance that Trump might endorse you. Run, Sean, run. But Sean said, no, I'm not going to do that. And where did Duffy go to make that announcement? Jay Weber, Right Wing Talk Radio. Where's Ron Johnson going to make his announcement? All indications are probably Mark Belling on Monday, Right Wing Talk Radio. So Trump got, talk Ron into it, though I don't think it took much cajoling. Sean Duffy gave him a differing answer. Maybe it's the fact, and Trump had encouraged Duffy to run for the governor of the state of Wisconsin against Democrat Tony Evers, but maybe the fact that Duffy's now live in New Jersey might have seemed a little daunting to him. Hard to serve the state of Wisconsin, from the Garden State. Ron Johnson said a few things, and I pointed out Ron used to be a friend, friendly friend of the show. I've called a lot of people friends. Called Robin Voss a friend of the show. It's a low bar. Just got to come on 3 times. But Ron Johnson says lots of kooky things. And he said lots of kooky things to me and Dom through the years. But now he's gone a little off the reservation, at least in my opinion. There's a local journalist in Wisconsin, Dan Bice, writes a lot of page 6-y kind of columns. If you've ever had tax problems, unpaid parking tickets, or if you're a rich guy's son, Dan Bice has a column for you. But here's what Dan writes today. It was the year of U.S. Senator Ron Johnson unleashed. For most of the past decade, the Wisconsin Republican has been a loyal political soldier, one more conservative multimillionaire willing to add his vote to the GOP tally. In those years, Johnson had his priorities. Early on, he touted around charts, documenting Venn diagrams, I suspect, documenting the federal government's growing debt. And then he took up such issues as opioid abuse at the Toma VA as chairman of the Senate Oversight Committee. But this year was different. Johnson began airing his opinions on a wide range of issues, questioning everything from COVID-19 vaccines to the January 6th insurrection and the reality of climate change. Lipped that it was, let's just say, bull crap. And he kept doing it. Before long, his words became a regular feature on influential conservative news sites and late night TV shows. The result, today, he is the most polarizing figure in Wisconsin politics. Worse than me, Ron. Conservatives laud him, and liberals use his incendiary words to raise campaign cash. So we've got a little rundown. Now, perhaps the 10 craziest things that Ron Johnson said this year, according to Daniel Bice. Number 1, questioning COVID-19 vaccines. We all hoped, a quote from Johnson, as he appeared on This Week on the Foxy News primetime. We all hoped and prayed the vaccine would be 100% effective, 100% safe, but they're not. We now know that the fully vaccinated individuals can catch COVID. They can transmit COVID. So what's the point? How about not dying of COVID, not being hospitalized of COVID? But, don't use logic with Ron. There's more to the article, but we'll keep jumping ahead. Number 2, downplaying the Capitol 6, downplaying the January 6th Capitol attack. Here's what Ron said at the time. This didn't seem like an armed insurrection to me. He said this February in a radio interview, about a month after. I mean, armed. When you hear armed, don't you think of firearms? Hey, Ron, there were plenty of firearms. Here's the questions I would like to ask. How many firearms were confiscated? How many shots were fired? I'm only aware of one, and I'll defend the law enforcement officer for taking that shot. It was a tragedy, okay? But I think there was only one. Now, as the article points out, in truth, police recovered a dozen guns and thousands of rounds of ammunition from 7 people who were arrested over their involvement in the January 6th riot that left at least 5 people dead. And Ron, not everyone's got a gun, but lots of people use things like the American flag on a pole as a spear to stab cops with. Here's more. Denying climate change. Here's what Ron said. I don't know about you guys, but I think climate change, as Lord Monckton said, bullcrap. Johnson said in June, mouthing the expletive while referring to British climate change skeptic Lord Christopher Monckton. By the way, it is bullcrap, according to Ron. When asked about the comment to the Republican Women of Greater Wisconsin luncheon at Aliota's in Wauwatosa, the second-term senator then tried to soften his remarks. My statements are consistent. I'm not a climate change denier, but I'm also not a climate change alarmist. Climate is not static. It has always changed and always will change. You're right, but that's not really climate. That's weather, Ron. Ron called Social Security a Ponzi scheme. These things are Ponzi schemes. The money isn't there, Johnson told a Milwaukee radio show in November. You invest it, whether it's Social Security or whatever, and the federal government spends it, and they just put in place another government bond. There isn't money. There aren't assets backing up these trust funds. The senator said something very similar in his first campaign in 2010. On a radio ad, Johnson said, they're going to tell you I said Washington politicians have run Social Security like a Ponzi scheme. Johnson then goes on to say in his radio spot, I did say that, and it's true. The pledge to fund Social Security is backed by the full faith and credit of the U.S. government. Bernie Madoff swindled clients. They had no such guarantee. See the difference, Ron? Probably not. Also, he questioned the big push to get everyone vaccinated for coronavirus. In an April interview on a conservative talk radio show, it's almost like he's got, like favorites. Like he goes to right-wing talk radio, like uses it as a tool, as a platform. He said there's no reason to be pushing vaccines on people, arguing that their distribution should be limited to those most vulnerable to coronavirus. If you have a vaccine, quite honestly, what do you care if your neighbor has one or not? I love Ryan's logic. Sort of a self-centric kind of guy. Very Ayn Randian. Wish he'd go galt and just leave. But no, the breaking news out of the great state of Wisconsin. Ron Johnson's hired a campaign manager. All the rumors are true. All the prognostications of yours truly are true. Ron's running for a third term as a U.S. Senator. Got a few more questionable, let's call them questionable statements from Ron. We got many more of your Friday grievances when we come back. Dial us up, 844-967-2789.
Run. What you want.
Right now, we all feel a little disconnected. For seniors living alone, the isolation can be overwhelming. Connect with an older loved one and have the conversation of a lifetime at StoryCorrEconnect.org/AARP. A message from AARP, StoryCorps, and the Ad Council.
600,000 Wisconsin families are receiving checks to help take care of their kids thanks to the expanded child tax credit passed by Joe Biden and congressional Democrats. Ron Johnson voted against these checks for Wisconsin families, despite voting for a 2017 tax break that put more money into the pockets of millionaires like himself. It's time to vote Ron Johnson out of office. MoveOn.org political action, paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertisement. Poll.moveon.org, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
President Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidates. He would have won.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
Should I get it?
Should I wait?
Is it safe?
It's okay to have questions. Now, get the facts. Visit getvaccineanswers.org
so that you can make an informed decision when COVID-19 vaccines are available to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Hi, Don from Wisco Home Goods here. Jeremy and I handcraft our 100% non-toxic candles from locally sourced materials in our Madison, Wisconsin facility. Wisco Home Goods candles come in a variety of unique blends and scents that you're sure to love. Add a little warmth to your home as the days get colder with one of our Midnight Cypress or Up North candles. Order at wiscohomegoods.com. Natural, healthy, nourishing candles and more at wiscohomegoods.com.
Save the $2 on tomorrow's paper. Listen to the Devil's Advocates today.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Welcome back from the 420 break, the Friday airing of the Grievances edition. We'll get to the phones momentarily. Be a little patient at 844-967-2789. Just a few more of the many questionable statements made by U.S. Senator Ron Johnson. He defended his work to secure tax breaks for his billionaire campaign backers. Now, back in 2017, when the Trump tax breaks first passed and they were signed into law by Donald Trump, Ron Johnson was a no. Ron Johnson threatened the entire process. He was the roadblock. He was the obstructionist Republican U.S. senator because Ron wanted something more. Ron wanted a tax breaks for designated S corporations. Those are typically small businesses that have to pay taxes as personal, like I'm a designated S, or I have been historically. So if my company is profitable, God forbid, I would have to pay some taxes as a pass-through entity. And Ron Johnson came down to the studios in Milwaukee and said, Crudy, I did this for us. Because Ron also happened to be a designated S corporation through his family's manufacturing corporation. I hear he married well. Paycor, I believe it's called. But it wasn't just me and Ron that got a little tax break. Oh, lots of rich people did, including Dick and Richard Uihlein and Diane Hendricks of ABC Supply in Beloit. Now, this article said their single year tax savings under Ron Johnson's, carve out $79 million. I have seen it stated as a higher number, as great as $218 million for two families in 1 year. That was the carved out savings. Oh, and those two big families, rich families, well, they rewarded Ron and the tax cuts. They gave his campaign $21 million. Just two families. Ron said that Anthony Fauci overhyped COVID-19 and AIDS. That was relatively recent. Ron also claims the top 1% are paying their fair share. And by fair share, he must mean like 3.4%, because that is the current statistic under the Trump tax cuts. The rich pay about 3.4%. My kid making, barely minimum wage, he pays a lot more than 3.4%. That's ludicrously low, Ron. That ain't paying your fair share, not when you're a billionaire. And of course, Ron was peddling Listerine as a treatment for COVID-19. Fresh breath. What's it going to hurt? Right, Ron? And of course, number 10 here on the Daniel Bice list, asserting that he never felt threatened by rioters on January 6th. I'm going to read one more quote. He went on a radio show, a conservative radio show, as he has a tendency to do, Joe Pags. And here's what he said. Even though thousands of people that were marching to the Capitol were trying to put pressure on people like me to vote the way they wanted me to vote, I knew those people that loved this country, that truly respect law enforcement, would never do anything to break the law. So I wasn't concerned. And then he said, oh, this one might get me in trouble. Now, had the tables been turned, Joe, this could get me in trouble. Had the tables been turned and President Trump won the election, and those were tens of thousands of Black Lives Matters and Antifa protesters, I might have been a little concerned. I bet your lily white ass would have been concerned, Ron. So U.S. Senator Ron Johnson, he's in it to win it, throwing his hat in the ring on Monday. Again, we'll have the Democratic Party chair of the great state of Wisconsin, Ben Wickler, on Monday to greet him to the race. Getting back to the phones, and you fine folks. Tom from Jackson. Tom, you know what? AM 540, it originates from Jackson. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Trudy, for having me on. I wanted to congratulate you for the 2 new stations around here, the one out of Jackson and then the one out of Waukesha, the FM.
Thank you,
I was
sir.
just driving through. Sure. I was just driving through Waukesha. And what a beautiful signal. You sounded great.
Yeah, the
I've
Shaw
never
is
heard you sound
loud.
better.
I wish the AM, you got to turn it left and then turn it up on the AM dial, but the Shaw, that's a loud FM signal. I like it.
Oh, it sounds good. The AM one, while I'm glad it's there, it needs a little work to get fine tuned.
Yeah, we've got some engineering work to do, but unfortunately, my very talented engineer, Fancy Brian Kelly, who also produces this fine show, he's in COVID quarantine all week, Tom. So
yeah,
I heard a little. I think some of this in the very shortest of run today is also being caused by the very cold weather. So we're hoping some of this will alleviate with a little warm up. But we'll certainly get the engineers out there in the near future, because I don't want to get a phone call like this from a guy like you, Tom.
Well, again, I'm so glad you got these 2 up in the air. I mean, that's really a step forward, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you for listening in Jackson, Wisconsin, AM 540, and of course the Shaw 101 FM, our 2 new affiliates. Let's go a little closer to home. Martina from Madison, welcome back. Happy New Year, Martina.
Well, hi, guys. Hello, good guy. Mikey, I tell you, I do miss Tom. He has a great sense of humor. But anyhow, my grievance is I've seen on the internet, I don't have TV, but I got internet, and there are ads, and Mandela Barnes breaks through with an ad. And in his ad, there's this huge fire behind him. Have you seen this ad?
Huge what behind him?
Fire, F-I-R-E. Like a barbecue grill, except it's long enough to barbecue an anaconda steak. It's truly symbolic of hell. Now, I don't know how Barnes shows that. My grievance is he's wasting a lot of gas. He's adding to warming the kind of a fire.
Well, I've seen a lot from his campaign this week that he is the front runner, and he's now got about 40% of voters, Democratic primary voters, support Mandela's candidacy. The fact that there are 10 or 11 of them, that probably puts him way out front. Now, the other quote unquote top tier candidates, Alex Lasry, his parents or his dad owns the Bucks, or is a part owner of the Bucks. He's wealthy. He's in the teens. Sarah Godlewski, my fine guest yesterday, she's in the teens, and Tom Nelson's just a slight bit below those two. He's at like 8 or 9%. But Martina, I'd rather see, I think it's more effective to point out that he's the front runner, at least on behalf of his campaign, than the fire-themed one you were describing. Come back, more Devil's Advocates, more of the 4 o'clock happy hour. It rolls on right now.
I think I did our country a great fire.
Hear history as it happens, only on Devil Radio 92.7 FM.
This is Chad Spate. Are you thinking about improving or expanding your home? At Chad's Design Build, we're committed to making your home comfortable, healthy, attractive, durable, and sustainable. In fact, those commitments spell our name. And we deliver these services with our outstanding team of professionals who will respect you and your home. Visit our website at chadsdesignbuild.com to learn more about how we are building a better world, one remodeled home at a time.
Wisconsin, you know that Drew Holiday and Brooke Lopez are champions on the court, but did you know they're also champions for our community?
Hey, Wisconsinites, Drew Holiday here.
And Brooke Lopez here.
I love being a champion.
And today I'm asking you to be a champion citizen.
Defend your right to vote and exercise your freedom to vote.
It's more important now than ever because politicians are trying to restrict our freedom to vote.
They're worried about our power, so they want to take it away.
Don't let them do that.
You've got to block that shot.
Paid for by the Wisconsin Democracy.
Life sentences. I'm Tim McGuire with an AP News Minute. Judge Timothy Walmsley sentenced 3 white men in the shooting death of Ahmaud Arbery, who was black. Greg and Travis McMichael sentenced to life without the chance for parole for arming themselves, chasing Arbery through their neighborhood near Brunswick, Georgia, and killing him.
After Ahmaud Arbery fell, the McMichaels turned their backs. It's a
again, a disturbing image, and they walked away. This was a killing. It was callous.
Neighbor William Roddy Bryant, also in the chase, recorded the encounter and shooting on his cell phone. He was sentenced to life with the chance for parole after 30 years. James and Jennifer Crumbly, parents of a 15-year-old charged in the killing of 4 students at his high school outside Detroit, were denied a request to lower their bail. They're charged with involuntary manslaughter for their actions leading up to the shooting, including leaving a gun accessible to their son. I'm Tim McGuire.
Susan, it's so great to finally be able to get together again.
Oh, it sure is. And I really appreciate you picking up the bill.
I'm happy to. I've got the extra cash. Since we've all been driving so much more again, I've been using Get Upside, the free gas app that pays you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get paid cash when you buy gas with the Get Upside app?
Yes, up to 25 cents a gallon. Cash back every time I buy gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
Some months I make $200 to $300.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the free Get Upside app now.
Download the free Get Upside app now in the App Store or Google Play to save up to 25 cents a gallon when you buy gas. Use promo code FREE for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's up to 50 cents a gallon on your next fill up. You can cash out anytime to PayPal or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Get Upside app and use promo code FREE for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code FREE.
For Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM. I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines. On Thursday, the 3 major hospitals in the Madison area released a joint statement stating their facilities are at capacity and they are canceling or postponing all non-emergency procedures due to the current surge of COVID-19. UW Hospital, Unity Point Health Meriter, and St. Mary's Hospitals are experiencing a record number of COVID-19 hospitalizations and staff shortages due to testing positive for COVID-19. Yesterday, Madison Superintendent Carlton Jenkins announced that district students will return to classrooms on Monday, January 10th. The district was forced to shift to remote learning this week due to staffing outages, but has secured a supply of testing methods that the district will use to update its contact tracing methods in order to return to the classrooms. Sunny skies in the forecast today with a high of 11 degrees. Partly cloudy skies expected this evening with an overnight low of 3 degrees. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Think you know politics? Think again. Welcome to the Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the 4 o'clock happy hour. It rolls on. The breaking news, ? Ron Johnson, in a shocker to absolutely no one that listens to this fine show, will make the announcement he's running for re-election, a 3rd term as the senior senator of the state of Wisconsin on Monday. I'm going to endeavor to see that that never happens. Going back to the phones, Friday grievances, they're welcome here, 844-967-2789, labeled as the cool CJ. From Beaver Dam, welcome back, the cool CJ.
Hi, Mike.
Hey, CJ.
Hey, before I get to my point, or my statement, I should say, congratulations to your son for knocking it out of the park.
Yeah, man, he killed it. I'm very proud of Kate.
So
thank you.
You were talking to Ron Johnson pushing Listerine. It's not Listerine. It's called Sphincterine. That's the only thing that can take the fall taste out of his mouth.
You got me with that one. I didn't see that one coming. Cool, CJ.
Yeah. Well, have a great weekend.
Yeah, thank you. That one's going to leave some sort of a indelible impression in my mind that I'm going to have to try to wash out. 844-967-2789. John calling in from Ho-Chunkville. Where's that, John?
Ho-Chunk. Thanks for being there, Crudy.
Thanks, John.
There at any given time, there are 1,000 people in the Dane County Jail, plus or minus, and half of them are employed. The most recent news is that 50% of the unemployed occupants of Dane County Jail have COVID.
John, what happens to those that are on Huber release? I mean, I've seen that
know.
between the sheriff's deputies that staff the jail and the I know they don't call them inmates anymore, but the residents.
Well, I've been there. I call myself an inmate.
Well, I've never been to the one here in this town, John, but I spent a few weeks in a Huber detention center in La Crosse once upon a time.
Well, I spent time. It's probably a total of 2.5 weeks in the hole.
Uh-oh.
So I know some of where I speak, but I didn't know that there were 1,000 people working there.
Yeah.
But I've learned that since. I don't know about Uber people. I know that their staff are down with COVID too, but not as many not half of them. Not yet, anyway.
I hope they make vaccinations available to the quote unquote inmates, John, because, quite frankly, a misdemeanor offense or something that would put you in a Huber facility or a jail facility. And I appreciate you calling, John. Your phone line's a little bit loud. But it shouldn't be a death sentence. You shouldn't have to go in there and worry about your health. So anyways, it is obviously a confined space. There's probably very little ventilation. And I'm speaking from personal experience. And there's got to be, just terrible conditions to try and keep oneself healthy during a pandemic. 844-967-2789. I think I said it all. 844-967-2789. Must be a Friday afternoon. Mark from the SAC, welcome back. What do you got, my friend?
Well, first off, to the less cool CG, I got to apologize because I kind of pointed out he might have returned if Trump would have taken over, as disloyal to the new empire that because we've spoken out strongly against Mr. Trump. So I apologize, CJ, and the Listerine comment you just went a little further than I went because I just went the shoe polish route, but the other one did occur to me, but I didn't quite go that far.
You were thinking go and get your effing shine box?
Yeah, I that was a little, but for the guy that was commenting on the border in Afghanistan, yes, on Afghanistan, mistakes were made, but Trump was the one who surrendered Afghanistan to the Taliban as he surrendered the Kurds to the tender mercies of the Turks.
Tender Mercies, that was an award-winning film, right?
Yeah, right. But in this case, it was a whole different thing. Then on the border, that the way to, laws would be far better than walls on the border if you would get the laws passed so those people could enter this country legally and enter the labor force where we need labor in this country. And we need them entering this country legally so they cannot be exploited by the people that are currently exploiting them, because we have businesses in this country that are advertising in Mexico, come to the United States, and they're coming here, but they're coming here illegally to get those jobs. And Trump, if Trump was so great, why didn't he solve the border problem when he was in office? He had 4 years to do it. He didn't do it.
Build that wall, Mark. Build that wall.
Yeah, BS on the wall. And BS to, Bannon, who fleeced all those folks out of money because he was going to build the wall himself. Well, and Trump pardoned that man for fleecing people out of their money.
Well, what do you expect? Trump fleeced people out of their money. That was kind of his business plan. I mean, between running casinos, running Trump University, running Trump Steaks, Trump Vodka, Trump Airlines, running the USFL into the ground. I mean, other than losing other people's money, what exactly is Donald Trump's business plan? Gaudy self-aggrandizement, slapping your name in gold plating on something. Anyways, it's a diminished business plan, I think. 844-967-2789. Mark, appreciate you listening. Friday, we air the grievances. They're all welcome here, except yours, Mr. Trump. Donald Trump, day 2 meltdown, still melting down. New news reporting, Trump's meltdown enters its second day as he continues raging. He's on a rager over Biden's January 6th speech. Well, I love the speech. Trump less so. On Friday, former President Trump lashed out yet again at the ceremonies marking the first anniversary of the January 6th Capitol insurrection. In a lengthy statement posted on Twitter, by his press secretary, Liz Harrington. These radical leftists in Washington care nothing, all caps, for American democracy. And pot calling kettle black, sir. All they care about is control over you and the wealth and the riches for themselves. I thought you were the guy that bragged about how rich you were. I'm not rich. I never got rich, but you claim that you're quite a rich man. Anyways, back to the quote unquote statement from the former. But they are failing. No one believes them anymore. And the day is quickly coming when they will be overwhelmingly voted out of office. Now, I said quickly, but he actually put quickie. Kind of like raw dogging a porn star. According to her, Stormy Daniels, that was something of a quickie. You meant quickly. Anyways, Joe Biden's voice is now the voice of desperation and despair, says a very desperate man. His handlers gave him that speech to read yesterday because they know the unprecedented failures of his presidency and the left-wing extremism of Pelosi Schumer Congress have destroyed the Democrat Party, trolling the Democrat Party to the very end. The twice impeached former president also suggested the Capitol riot was a hoax. False flag, right? Never happened. The Democrats cannot sustain the preposterous fabrications about January 6th much longer. You know what? I'll take my chances, Trump, on your fabrications against the supposed fabrications of the left. A little bit more here. He also used Biden's speech to recite a laundry list of grievances. Well, that's what we do here on Fridays. The American people, I'll just read. You're sick of the Trump voice. I'm sick of the Trump voice. The American people also see that January 6th has become the Democrats' excuse and pretext for the most chilling assault on civil liberties of American citizens in generations. It is being used to justify outrageous attacks on free speech, widespread censorship, deplatforming. No, you got yourself deplatformed, sir. That happened on Twitter. That's a private corporation. Calls for increased domestic surveillance. Who's asking for that? Other than of domestic terrorists. Appalling abuse of political prisoners. I think by that you mean the domestic terrorists, the Capitol riot insurrectionists, the ones you inspired. Labeling opponents of COVID lockdowns and mandates as national security threats. I'm not sure anyone did that. And even ordering the FBI to target parents who object to the radical indoctrination of their children in school. Only if they threaten violence against, let's say, school board presidents. And this week, January 6th is also the Democrats' excuse for trying to pass a radical federal takeover of state election law. That'd be the Voter Rights Act, the John Lewis Act, making sure state by state that your state can't screw minority voters, federalizing the elections, as they call it. They're trying to ban voter ID and other basic measures that can ensure the sacred integrity of the vote. It's sacred now. In a powerful speech at Statutory Hall on Wednesday, one of the very spots where a pro-Trump mob ran amok a year ago, Biden took off the gloves after a year of largely ignoring Trump. The former president of the United States of America has created and spread a web of lies about the 2020 election. Well, I love that ass-kicking speech that Joe Biden gave yesterday. Here's a little bit more. He's done so because he values power over principle, because he sees his own interest as more important than the country's interest. Biden said, yeah, that was a hell of a speech. Biden said the United States and much of the world is locked in a battle between democracy and autocracy. I will allow no one to place a dagger at the throat of democracy, Biden said at the Capitol. I will stand in this breach. I will defend this nation. Easy for Crudy to say on a Friday afternoon. 844-967-2789. Going back to the phones. PT from Milwaukee. How you doing, Paul?
Good, Crudy. So did you say there's a Milwaukee Station 101 something that you're affiliated with now?
I do now have a couple of Milwaukee affiliates, Milwaukee area. Technically, they're Waukesha stations, We have WAUK 540 AM. And if you go out in Waukesha County and to the west thereof, 101 FM, the Shaw is a kick-ass little FM signal.
Oh, okay. All right. I got it now. So my grievance is, well, it's not a grievance. It's like, bring it on, Roadshow. You've done 0.0 for our state. And you have done more harm to Wisconsin than any other senator in Wisconsin history.
Well, I don't know. McCarthy, Senator Joe McCarthy was pretty terrible, but Ron's right up there.
He's awful. He's awful. And, regarding Mandela, I don't know if he's the strongest candidate. I kind of go back and forth with him. It's like, he's got some baggage with all those financial things and stuff. And I don't see him as a very charismatic,
Oh, he's very, you're wrong about that, Paul. Mandela is very charismatic. He is a wonderful communicator. He's great on the stump. He's personally charismatic. I mean, he's a good looking guy. I don't disagree. They all have baggage of some sort. The only thing that I really take some umbrage with the campaign right now is that once you become the front runner, and we saw this from Tony Evers. Tony Evers was basically the front runner, and he said, I'll see you at the primary finish line. And he never really went out there and ran a strong campaign. And right now, Mandela is under the impression, and the polling would seem to indicate that his campaign is the best known. Well, he holds statewide office. He's the best known candidate currently. But that is not enough to get you elected. That's perhaps enough to win the primary. But the fact that he's not out there sharpening, steel versus steel during the primary, I mean, there's plenty of time for that. It's not until August that we hold that primary vote. But, I hate any candidate, pardon me, staking out the front runner status and saying, see you at the finish line, Paul.
Yeah, I don't know about those polls. I didn't see any polls. Have they come out or something?
Well,
I don't know.
Mandela's campaign is certainly sharing a lot of internal polling that would seem to indicate that Mandela is currently in first place. Come back with us, Devil's Advocates, first place in your heart, first place in mind when you call us at 844-96-PARTY.
You let him try violin because you love him. And if you love him that much, love him enough to make sure he's buckled up and in the back seat. Find out more at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
600,000 Wisconsin families are receiving checks to help take care of their kids thanks to the expanded child tax credit passed by Joe Biden and congressional Democrats. Ron Johnson voted against these checks for Wisconsin families, despite voting for a 2017 tax break that put more money into the pockets of millionaires like himself. It's time to vote Ron Johnson out of office. MoveOn.org political action, paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Poll.moveon.org, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Spruce up your home with non-toxic vegan candles from Wisco Home Goods. I'm Don, one of the owners of this family-owned Midwestern business in Madison, Wisconsin. Our candles are 100% sustainable and come in a variety of unique blends and scents that make a perfect holiday gift. Plus, at Wisco Home Goods, we believe in giving back. With our Do Good, Smell Good campaign, a portion of the proceeds go to local charities. So support a Midwestern company that supports our local communities. Order now at wiscohomegoods.com.
Here's today's STEM tip. Don't throw out that old plastic bottle. Repurpose it by turning it into an awesome terrarium. Just fill it with sand, pebbles, soil, and your favorite plant. It'll grow sealed right in its own ecosystem. Learn more at She Can STEM. A message from the Ad Council.
Hi there, I'm Kirk Bankstad and I own the Monaco Brewing Company. And I also have a super PAC. We make good trouble in the North Woods of Wisconsin. You can support our efforts at the MonacoBrewingCompany.com and buy our wove gear like t-shirts, hoodies, and trucker hats. Enter the code RADIO and get 10% off on your next purchase. A portion of all sales support the Monaco Brewing Company Super PAC, which is dark money meant for good. That's the MonacoBrewingCompany.com.
Think you know politics? Think again. Welcome to the Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, running short on time, but still time for your calls. 967-2789. I'm going to be indulgent and take one more grievance for myself. I live in the state of Wisconsin. Governor Tony Evers, our Democratic governor, has the power to appoint people to various boards, things like the Department of Natural Resources Board and the UW System Regions Board, and even the Tech College Board. However, the former governor's appointees, Scott Walker, who, brought fascism to the state of Wisconsin, to my opinion, had guys like me arrested at the Wisconsin State Capitol, had hundreds of protesters arrested. But anyways, that was just small fry compared to, the overall corruption under his administration. But here is the fascism, and I do perceive it to be fascism, on a very small scale. There are a number of Walker appointees, even though their terms are up, and the new governor, who's been in office 3 years now, has placed new appointees to fill these now should be vacated roles. And the Wisconsin State Senate, that's controlled by Republicans, refuse to confirm any of the new governor's appointees. So effectively, they are stealing positions on these various boards from the current governor, from the Democratic appointees. And effectively, they're hoping if they can just hold out and win the midterm elections, put a Republican governor in, that they can shift the dichotomy of all these boards substantially to the right. Well, if you are an appointee to something like the Department of Natural Resources Board and your term is up, resign and move on. The failure to do so makes you a fascist. Your term is up. Even if the law says, well, you can stay until the new appointee's been confirmed. Well, if the Republican-led Senate will not confirm anyone, if they refuse to confirm the appointments of the new governor, you still, as a human being, can have the moral compass to do the right thing. Just because Robin Voss and Republicans have no conscience, just because they think whatever means of power to take power, well, they'll do so. But as individual human beings, we're going to start naming names right here each and every day on this radio program, because these people that fail to leave the government, even though their terms are done, no, the Democrats don't get their picks. We're going to keep our picks. The 13-member Wisconsin Technical College Board that sets policies across the 16 technical college districts includes 5 Evers, that's the new governor's appointees, 3 individuals who serve by virtue of their position, like the state school superintendent, Jill Underly, and workforce development, and the UW Region, John Miller, and 5 Walker appointees, including 3 whose terms expired in May. The 3 holdovers are Kelly Tourdot, Tourdot, a Waunakee resident, who's the vice president of Associated Builders and Contractors. Is that good business, Kelly? Is that good business? Is that how you want to represent Associated Builders and Contractors of Waunakee? Because you also represent yourself when you fail to do the right thing in this civic responsibility. When you fail to vacate your seat when your term is done, you're just a little fascist, Kelly. Mary Williams, a former GOP state representative from northern Wisconsin, and Becky Lebzow, a dairy farmer from Rio, Lebzow. If you know Becky, let her know she's a little bit fascist. Meeting minutes show they have continued to vote and make motions, with Lebzow even presiding as board president during a July meeting. Beyond her term, right? She's not on the board anymore, except she won't leave. The refusal to vacate their seats was first reported by WisPolitics late last month. Williams, before being asked any questions by the Wisconsin State Journal, said, "There's no real story." She said she hadn't talked to Republicans about holding onto her seat. Well, that was a lie in the case of Preen, the guy over on the DNR board that won't vacate. He was reaching out to Republicans. They colluded to block the appointments of the new Democratic governor. But anyways, she said she hadn't talked to Republicans about holding onto her seat and has no problem stepping down after the Senate confirms someone to take her place. But of course, the Republicans on the Senate will not do so. She doesn't have to have an open conversation in this conspiracy of fascism. She knows their intent and she is complicit. But she said she will continue to serve in her post until then, because sometimes people appointed by the governor are not confirmed. Yeah, not by your Republican colleagues, co-conspirators. Some people are making a bigger issue out of this than it needs to be. Well, stop being a fascist. So you get the point. That's grievance for the day. Now back to you folks. 844-967-2789. Did we do Dick? Okay, Dick from Madison, you're next. Welcome, Dick.
Well, your last caller was talking about the baggage with Mandela Barnes. The present guy that's going to run, Ron Johnson, I would offer that he probably has more baggage than the bellboy at the Waldorf Astoria. But
see what you did there.
That said, my grievance is how sad the Republican Party yesterday when they offer up as the only two people that would show their face for the, anniversary of a horrible thing that happened in this country. Liz Cheney, she's basically a broken clock that's maybe at best right twice a day. And then her dad, a person who's guilty of war crimes.
Yeah, he shares the name with you, Dick. Might consider changing that name. Here's what I will give Liz Cheney credit for. Above and beyond her service on the January 6th committee, Cheney went on Fox News yesterday, Brett Baer, and Cheney called out the former president. Cheney called out the Republican Party. And as Brett Baer questioned her about her support, well, if you're against this, Joe Biden said that means you're for the Voting Rights Act. She said, no, I'm not. I'm not for either. I think it's 1 or 4. She said, I'm not for that. But I'll tell you what, this was a domestic terrorist insurrectionist riot. She took her show to Fox News and she called it like she saw it. One more for the day. Pizza Box, I can give you the last grievance.
Dude, it's my first day on the new radio tomorrow, and you're my engineer.
Oh, that is a grievance. We got some people out sick and some staffing issues. If you are pulling the D-grade producer for Outside the Pizza Box tomorrow, noon, right here on Devil Radio and WAUK and the Shaw, of course.
I'm excited. Don't mess up.
I'll try not to, Pizza Box. But you remember what it was like the last time I produced you. The show has still never recovered.
We got a half a show in.
Something like that.
Yeah. Well,
like one of our voices and not the other ones. Pizza Box, I'll try not to screw up. No promises. No promises. You're never a screw up if you keep it locked right here on Devil Radio and our new affiliate in the Waukesha area, AM 540 and the Shaw 101 FM. Now stick around. Earl Ingram is next and Native Roots Radio. Lineup on Saturday includes Outside the Pizza Box. Hope you tune in on all those fine affiliates.
You're skiing, right to jail. You're playing music too loud, right to jail. Right away. You're driving too fast, jail.
This is Pat Slattery of Slattery's Automotive